TLDR, caring for my mentally ill sister has damaged my relationship with my fiance to the point where I am choosing one or the other. I, 23 male, have been with my girlfriend, 23 female, for almost 4 years, and we have plans to get engaged later this year. Over the last 2 months, my sister, 19 female, who is our roommate and unemployed, has developed severe mental health issues, seemingly out of the blue. We've helped her get set up with treatment, but it's very slow. From what I can tell, it's similar to paranoid schizophrenia, because she fabricates memories and adds paranoid aspects that are impossible. For example, she could say an employee we encounter at the grocery tells her he recognizes her because her phone camera roll has been hacked and publicly leaked. In reality, I was there during this interaction and know that the employee never said a word to her. My sister's mental health situation has caused both my fiance and I enough stress to be a post on its own. But this is about last night and my relationship with my fiance. Last night, my sister came to me telling me that she needed to urgently speak to me outside without any electronics around. Part of "the government is listening in" stuff. I always do my best to be supportive without validating her delusions, but in this instance I left my phone right inside the door just to go outside and calm her down. My fiance was nearby and loudly voiced that I shouldn't be going along with it, and presented an ultimatum that if I set my phone down and go outside, she will leave our relationship. For context, my fiance has been very supportive and understanding for the last 2 months, since my sister's mental health issues have started. She has never presented any ultimatums to me in the past, and has never raised her voice to that extent. The process of getting my sister treatment has been long and strenuous, including waiting for hours at the ER at 3 a.m. on a work night because of my sister's suicidal sentiments. My fiance has been by my side through all of this, and I can understand that she's at the end of her rope. I have been reassuring her that our efforts are temporary, until my sister is able to get treatment and be able to support herself. Aside from having to navigate bouts of hysterical psychosis, the financial stress has also been taking a toll on us. Since my sister is unemployed and has no savings, we have been covering her portion of the rent, food for the household, and electricity/Wi-Fi/etc. for a few months now. I took over her $356 per month car payments since I co-signed on her car. Because of her delusions, my sister is not trying to find a job and knows she can depend on us to provide for her. After my fiance made the ultimatum, "Hold on to your phone or I leave," I paused and didn't know how to react. She made the decision herself to start packing her things. My sister was still urgently pleading to talk to me, so I opted to go outside with her. Of course, the usual "now this person is tracking me, they hacked into my phone camera," etc., and I had to talk her down. After a few minutes, my fiance starts bringing her clothes and belonging to her car, getting ready to leave. I quickly finished up with my sister and went to talk to my fiance. I tried to express how I understand how difficult it is, but it's just a slow process and not worth her leaving. She expressed how difficult the last 2 months have been, and how much I have been occupied and taken away by these issues. Personally, I feel like I have balanced things as best as the average person could, but she began screaming and nearly crying, which I had never seen her do before. She was yelling fairly unkind things about my sister and unfair things about me, which I'm sure my sister heard. She then boiled it down to one last ultimatum: one will be leaving either her or my sister. This was last night, where I promised her I would resolve the situation today. I said I would have my sister go stay with my mother, and our lives would be stable again after that. I love my fiance very much, and really do not want to lose her, but I also am very uncomfortable and disappointed in the way she screamed and presented an ultimatum. If anybody is able to offer some advice on how to navigate any aspect of this situation, I would be grateful. I can also provide more context about anything in the comments. Edit: I need to note that this has been a point of contention for my fiance and I for a while, and I can absolutely understand why she would be burnt out. Even though my sister's mental health things started 2 months ago, my sister has not been able to pay her share of bills since September or October. Also, I have never wanted to care for my sister endlessly. That would just enable her to continue a harmful lifestyle and drain my resources and sanity. My goal has been and is still to get her permanent psychiatric help. We are in the process of getting her professional help currently, but the appointments are too few and far between. My fiance does deserve a lot of credit for sticking around as long as she has, and supporting me through a tough year in other ways, such as my relationship with my mother, who also suffers from mental health complications. We have talked about splitting in the past, but I appreciated her willingness to stick it out longer. A lot of the people on here have already commented the obvious, so all I'll say is, why the F does your sister have a car? Go ahead and get rid of that bill, because if she's that unstable she has no business driving, and you shouldn't be paying for it. And like everyone else said, reach out to your father. Exactly, she can keep the car if she can get a job to actually use it. But if she's that paranoid that she can't get a job, there's no reason for her to need the car and absolutely no reason for her to be on the road. OMG. As someone who works in an inpatient behavioral health setting, it feels like your sister could benefit from further inpatient care and faster/more significant med changes, rather than waiting for monthly appointments. I also worry that if your sister was primarily treated for suicidal thoughts, and not necessarily her other currently presenting symptoms, her medication regimen might not be fully helpful to her right now. Honestly, most of my previous patients who have had significant psychosis or paranoia, especially the younger crew with no substance use involvement, tend to be able to stabilize pretty quickly with appropriate med changes and often maintain their stabilization through medication compliance. It has been a merry-go-round of issues. In the first week of December, she expressed that her reputation is so ruined, the only way out is offing herself. I took her to a behavioral health center, same place I've taken a suicidal friend in the past, and they said in order to take her in so late at night was if she was referred from an ER. I took her there, and she came out with a pamphlet about depression in minors. She passed the mental health evaluation, probably because she didn't mention any of her delusions. Also, she's not a minor. We went back home, defeated. A few days later, I took her into the county behavioral health center and was able to sit in on her visit with the clinician and provide additional context. They scheduled her 2 appointments, one with a psychiatrist, one with a therapist, and she went to those in mid-December. I assume they didn't jump to treatment options since they were the first visits. The next ones are scheduled in the first week of January. Hopefully they can provide therapy and medication. Edit. I also want to say that I never validate her delusions, as I have always heard that makes everything worse. When it comes to putting the phone down to talk, my reasoning was that the small action was outweighed by the conversation calming her down. If I had refused to put the phone down, then she would become hysterical about how I don't believe her and she can't trust me, etc., etc. That has happened before. It's terrible, I know, so that's why I'm trying to figure out something else. This is meant nicely, but you need to understand she may never be at a point where she recovers and can support herself. Either your parents need to step up, or if they aren't in the picture, she can be turned in as a ward of the state, but I wouldn't want to give up my life as a 23-year-old to live with someone like your sister either, and you'd honestly be hard-pressed to find any partner that would. It's a crappy situation, but you cannot provide the care your sister needs. Turn her over to those who can, and don't let both of your lives be ruined because you think it's giving up on her to let those who actually can help her do so. I was prescribed 2 medications on my first psychiatric appointment, and I don't have a tenth of the symptoms your sister is presenting. I don't blame her and feel bad for you. She's 23. She wants to be your wife. She doesn't want to have to take care of a 19-year-old. It sounds like your sister should be in an institution that can provide help. I would never leave her alone in my house. Sell her car. She shouldn't be driving. Use some of that money, hopefully you're not upside down, towards your finances until she gets into a facility that will provide the help she needs. If your sister is dealing with schizophrenia, it will be a lifelong battle that will likely require emotional and financial support to varying degrees. Treatment isn't simple, and family and community support are very helpful aspects of it. Even people who can access and respond well to treatment still need support. There are people who can maintain very high levels of functioning and are very successful, but there are years between the onset and the time when they are able to be completely independent. How much support you can and want to provide is something you will need to determine. You don't mention other family or means of support available to your sister. The last 2 months aren't what the rest of her life will be. You don't have a diagnosis yet, so there is no way to know what the future will bring. As you can see, accessing treatment is always going to be a battle. Pay close attention to how your fiance is reacting. She shouldn't be a caretaker, but she should be able to sit down with you and calmly formulate a plan and understand this is a temporary battle. How would she react if you suffered a serious injury and were out of work? Would she be able to discuss a plan with you? While this situation is stressful, her ultimatum was adding fuel to the fire. You don't help a delusion by mocking it. Your fiance's actions sound immature, and I'm wondering if that's a true reflection of her or if this is out of character. Have you and your fiance had discussions on a plan to transition your sister out of your care? Does she understand this takes time? Do you think you have dismissed your fiance's needs as you have focused on your sister and this is the only way she can get through to you? Why did she resort to such a drastic ultimatum and leaving as she did? If you want to marry her and be her partner for life, you need to be confident that you can work together to tackle difficult situations. Where are your parents? Why are you taking on the brunt instead of her parents? What treatment is she getting? Why haven't you sold the car? My father doesn't live in our state, and my mother also struggles with mental health issues. She's currently hopping from couch to couch, so she's effectively homeless and unable to take care of my sister. I took her into the county behavioral health center in the first week of December, and they scheduled an appointment with a therapist and one with a psychiatrist. She did go to those in mid-December, and I'm under the impression they were just to get her initiated rather than jump on treatment. The next ones will be in the first week of January. Ideally, they will provide medication and therapy. I haven't sold the car yet because she did put money into it before all of this started, and though it's legally my property, I'm hesitant to sell her car. I understand that I need to soon, or at least get it refinanced, but honestly it hasn't been the biggest stressor compared to everything else. Between the car and the other costs you've taken on, I'm guessing you're paying out at least $1,000 per month additional. Unless you're making a lot of money, that is definitely causing a strain. If you're splitting it with your girlfriend, that means she's having to find an extra $500 a month to deal with this. Not to mention all the stress of a volatile home situation. Is she not covered on your dad's healthcare? I know county is slow, but the situation you're in is a bit more dire than 3 months later before assessment is even starting. This is a call in the troops. Get your dad involved. Maybe flying her out to him is the best for everyone involved. We were paying the full amount for rent before, then when my sister wasn't able to pay, we took up the full bill again. The electricity bill has doubled, and the food expenses have gone up 50%. I estimate it to be around $550 that we split, plus the $350 for the car that's mine alone. We're barely above minimum wage, and I have drained half of my life's savings for this. I don't blame my fiancé for being burnt out. Thank you for your suggestion about my dad, good idea. Why should your fiancé have to pay any of the extra $550? That's all due to your sister. So therefore you should be picking up that tab, not expecting your fiancé to pay any of it. You should contact your dad and get him to deal with your sister's care by either paying for her treatment or paying for her bills in your house. Sell the car and give your fiancé back the extra money she has spent covering the costs for your sister. Did you even ask your fiancé before you moved your sister in? I don't care that your dad lives in a different state, unless that is a euphemism for in jail, or another state of being that is out of phase with this universe. He needs to get his big boy pants on and help. Your sister is in or heading to a crisis. Please learn your crisis options for when your sister has an episode that is dangerous to herself or others. I know she'd never harm a fly if she was stable, but she's not, and you need to prepare yourself with what resources are available to her. I'm not talking smack about mentally ill people, but paranoid added on to whatever psychosis she has is really bad. Your precious sister is still in there. You might see her again once she's effectively medicated, which can take a while. In terms of your relationship, even once your sister is stable, or even in care, you will get middle-of-the-night phone calls. You might find yourself in the car trolling neighborhoods to try and spot her on the streets. Is this something your fiancé could handle once you've stopped financially supporting your sister? This is your life unless you completely cut your sister off in every way, which I'm not advocating for. You sound like a lovely person, OP, but bless your heart, she is not going to get back on her feet quickly. She's at the age where schizophrenia and many other mental illnesses manifest. It may have come on suddenly, but it is likely to be something that she has to deal with for the rest of her life. Hopefully it can be fully managed with medication, but not everyone can be. 2 months is nothing in the face of this. If you continue to advocate for and help your sister, then you need to know that there is no quick fix for this. You won't be back to normal by February. Your sister might have a handle on her condition by February next year, but that would be if she gets very lucky with meds and therapy. It won't be as acute as it has been that whole time, but it won't be easy either. You're very young to be taking on such a serious burden. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I know for a fact as an older sister that I would 100% drop everything and everyone if my younger sibling needed me in a crisis like this. But I also know that that instinct probably isn't healthy, and that I'm probably not the only one who could help in that scenario. You need to find out who else can help you and your sister. One person can't be the only one keeping someone mentally ill-grounded, it's too much. Find support. Don't abandon your sister, but recognize that it's okay to want to choose your fiance, even if you are so young to be considering marriage and babies. It's okay to choose her and be happy even though your sister is having an awful time. You're still allowed to be happy. You have made your sister's issues the center of your life, fair, she's your sister, and your ex does not want that, nor should she have to. You aren't balancing it. She told you that. And I suspect she has been, in very respectful ways, but you only heard during the yelling. Though ultimatums are unfair, you have made choice after choice that, though they may be best for your sister, are not for your ex. She is supporting you emotionally, contributing financially, and you want her to continue to take the back seat in her life? Do you not think that is rather selfish? This situation just highlights that your lives are no longer compatible.